This has Mavs fans fired up. Okay. Max Christie in the fourth game of the season has cracked the starting lineup. And it's so interesting. I mean, we'll dive deeper into this in a minute. I feel like fans and podcasters, beat writers, all alike were saying it won't take long for Max Christie to crack the starting lineup. And a lot of times in those discussions, it was whether or not he was going to start over Klay Thompson. That's besides the point because both of them started. But I'm going to talk about like what that product looked like on the court with Max Christie in our starting unit. Then, caution, hot tea. It does appear that our rook, Cooper, the main event Flagg, is dealing with some sort of shoulder injury. We're going to monitor that a little bit closely, but I think I know the play that may have caused that shoulder injury. We're going to talk about that. And then lastly, in today's episode, as a continuation from yesterday, your advisor is still cooking up a deal with the Charlotte Hornets. It is still involving LaMelo Ball, but we're going to talk a little bit more about the analytics behind why I want LaMelo Ball on our team so bad. But now that you're just raring to go and you're like, yo, Ethan, can we just stop with the teasers and dive in? Sure, we'll do that. But first, let me make a quick introduction. I am Ethan, the advisor Clayton. Welcome to the party, fam. And by party, I mean dope podcast. This is Your Mavs, a Dallas Mavericks podcast where all are welcome. Y'all better behave. Okay, we have a lot to talk about today. Let's do this. What has Mavs fans fired up? Max Christie has Mavs fans fired up. And as I mentioned in the intro, this was his first start of the season. And going all the way back to the summer, when we were speculating what the starting five was going to be on opening night, it was always, well, does it make more sense to start Klay Thompson? Does it make more sense to start Max Christie? And a lot of people were really leaning towards the Max Christie direction because of defense, okay? Klay Thompson used to be a really good defender and now is kind of washed in that regard, okay? And, you know, we saw promises of Max Christie's development last season with his shot. And so far this season, he's been our best three-point shooter by a long shot. So seeing that energy injected into our starting lineup was a really good product, okay, for the most part anyway. But looking at the box score, Max Christie did have a team high in the plus-minus category with a plus 10 in his first iteration in the starting lineup. And to take it a step further, you know, with some of the starting lineup changes that we made, well, again, things that Mavs fans and one thing that pretty much everyone agreed upon coming into the season was that AD will be most effectively used starting at the 5. And we did it last night against OKC, just mainly out of necessity, right? And by the way, yes, there is a minor injury that Derek Lively is dealing with. It sounded like it's just a simple knee contusion, and his status is day-to-day at this point. He might play again tomorrow night. We'll see. But yeah, the AD being slid into the 5 was out of necessity because we don't have Daniel Gafford yet. Derek Lively's dealing with his knee contusion. And so, you know what? A lot of Mavs fans could point at last night and be like, see, I told you so. This was kind of effective. And when I say kind of effective, the two big changes to our starting 5, again, Max Christie at the 2, maybe it was the 3. We're playing positionless basketball, so maybe it doesn't matter, right? But with him in the starting lineup, he did have a plus minus of plus 10, okay? And the only other starter that had a positive impact on the game in that little category was AD. He was a plus 3. So I don't know that this is going to be a permanent fixture. I don't think we need to get too comfortable with it just yet. But I do think of the two, like with those big starting lineup changes, I think the more long-term move is going to be Max Christie at the 2. Okay. And I do think that eventually means Klay Thompson is relegated to the bench. But let's unpack some of the things that I thought went really well about our game against OKC and some things that we're still really struggling with and need to continue working on. The first big win that I would say in our matchup against OKC, guys, I'm already butchering his name. SGA. Coming into the game, he was averaging 40 points a game. Okay. And, part of his reputation is that he makes a living at the foul line. He only made one visit to the foul line the entire game, and it was in the fourth quarter. It was at the point where the Mavericks had made a comeback, but now, OKC is starting to extend that lead again, and Shea put a couple of free throws in to make it out of reach. But that is a huge win, okay? For him to only visit the free throw line means we were being disciplined on defense. We were getting hands in his face. We weren't buying the shot fake that he does, notoriously. So there was a lot of patience that we saw from our point of attack defending, especially covering SGA last night. And I think that's a huge win. The second, we only turned the ball over 8 times last night. 8. Okay. In the first quarter of our game on, what was that, Sunday night? We had 7 in the first quarter. We had 8 total last night. That's incredible. Following up our season high of 21 turnovers with our season low of 8 against the top defense in the NBA, that's a win, friends, right? That's a huge, huge win. We're starting to take better care of the ball. And I think it's really just a result of having an actual point guard on the floor, doing actual point guard things for more than 8 minutes in a game. Imagine that. D'Angelo Russell, he did not shoot the ball well, but whenever he is on the floor, the ball moves, okay? Guys are getting open looks. There's more motion to our offense. There's more energy to our offense. So, yeah, whenever we have a real point guard doing real point guard things, turns out we take better care of the ball, and that provides opportunities for us to get good looks, okay? Very simple, very straightforward there. The final win I take away from last night's game, Jaden Hardy is the win. Okay, there was a Hardy party. And by the way, Hardy parties everybody's invited, okay? Even people like me that have bashed him in the past, like, this is not good basketball. He's just chucking up whatever he wants. And, maybe it was the same product as we're used to, but last night, the shots were falling, and he led a big comeback just by pure vibes on the court, okay? So the Hardy party lasted for about 15 minutes, and it brought us within, striking distance of, like, retaking the lead against OKC. We could not get a bucket anywhere else. Jaden Hardy got some extended minutes in the second half, and bam, right? All of a sudden, we're firing on all cylinders, and we're cutting the lead. Oh, now it's single digits. Oh, now it's less than 5. Thank you, Jaden Hardy. I'm sorry for everything that I've said. Maybe not totally sorry. I don't know if this is something that we can count on consistently, but the role is very simple. You come off the bench, you get buckets. And he did that last night with spades. Good work. Now, let's quickly talk about some of the things that still need improvement, things that are very big negatives. The first is obvious, shooting, okay? We shot 35% from the field. And that really isn't all that different from what we've shot against the Wizards, against the Spurs, against the Raptors. But it was more glaringly obvious last night because we only shot 12 threes the entire game. So that means we're getting a lot of mid-range looks. We're getting a lot of looks close to the basket, and they still weren't falling. That is concerning to me. And that led to OKC way outscoring us in the paint once again. That's not something coming into the season we thought we were going to struggle with all the length and size that we put on the court, especially in a double big lineup situation, which we didn't have last night. We don't expect to give up that many points in the paint. But Isaiah Hartenstein, he made a living in the paint last night, which leads me to kind of the second big negative that I saw. We were out-rebounded 55-36. That is a wide margin. Again, whenever we did that against San Antonio, it kind of made sense because their starting center is 9'14" or whatever. That doesn't even math. I don't care at this point. Who knows how tall he is? It just made more sense whenever it was Wemby that was dominating the glass and getting a lot of points in the paint. But for us to continue being out-rebounded by that wide of a margin is concerning. Again, because we've built our roster around being one of the biggest teams in the NBA, having depth at the 4 and 5 positions, and we're still getting scored on in the paint. We're still being out rebounded by a lot. Okay. So shooting, rebounding, and points in the paint, those are kind of our biggest weaknesses right now, other than the turnovers, right? Which again, we improved drastically last night against OKC, against the top defense in the NBA. So all in all, the vibes are a little bit better than they were when we lost against the Washington Wizards, but I don't like looking at our record and seeing 1-3. The vibes would be totally different if we were 2-2. I didn't expect to win against OKC, so that just makes the Washington loss sting a little bit more. It makes me angry all over again. But we'll move past that. Right into the rumor. This is a real fact. Cooper Flagg is dealing with shoulder soreness, and many were wondering if that's why he didn't shoot so well on Monday night's performance. I don't really care about his shooting performance. I don't care about the 1 for 9. But I don't think it had anything to do with his shoulder injury. My speculation is that it happened in the third quarter whenever Cooper got a head full of steam and basically tried to end Chet Holmgren's life with a poster. And then Chet was like, nope, not in my house. Actually, we're in your house, but I'm still going to send the same message. No. Okay. He rejected it emphatically. And I think it like tweaked Cooper's shoulder because he was trying to dunk with his left hand and it just kind of pushed him back. That's what I think happened. And whether or not that's the cause of his shoulder soreness, I'm not too worried about the injury. I'm not worried about how banged up maybe a rookie would get in his first NBA back-to-back and the second leg of a back-to-back being against the top defense in the NBA. So we'll just keep an eye on it. I think we're supposed to get another update soon from the front office about Cooper's availability for Wednesday night, but I feel pretty okay with that. Now, moving right along, I cooked up a deal yesterday offering Klay Thompson, Daniel Gafford, Najee Marshall, and a first-round pick in exchange for LaMelo Ball. And maybe I don't need to wax too poetic about why. Like, we all know what he brings to the court, but let's look at like what he's doing, what he's producing so far this season, which I know, again, we're only 4 games in. I like to have a little bit more data before making like, I'm going to die on this hill. I'm still going to die on this hill, even though we're early in the season. Right now, LaMelo Ball is averaging 28.3, okay, 8.3 rebounds a game, 9.7 assists. By my math, that's really, really freaking close to averaging a triple-double. And it is happening efficiently. He's shooting 48% from the field and 42% from 3, okay? And this is that high-volume shooting, okay? He's not, shooting 2 or 3 threes a night. He's shooting 7 or 8, okay? And to be hitting at that high of a clip, to be averaging nearly a triple-double, it fills a lot of the needs that this roster has, which, again, we've talked about. Let me scoot over so I'm not blocked by the microphone. Taking care of the ball, right? Turnovers have been a huge issue in the first few games. Melo is sometimes careless and fancy-free, trying to do something a little cute with the ball, but he is like one of the NBA leaders in assists right now. So having a true floor general that sees all the things and he has a sixth sense about who's cutting and when and where, and he just watch a Charlotte Hornets game, if for no other reason except to like humor your advisor who is pushing this agenda so hard. Okay. And then, we look at offensive creation, right? That is something that LaMelo Ball does at an elite level, right? And looking at that stat line, the 28, 8, and 9, does that remind you of anybody that we used to have on our team maybe until February of this year before he was inexplicably traded? Yeah, I think it does bear a shocking resemblance. And man, just the 42% from 3, that's not going to be what he ends the season with. Okay. But if he's at 38 or 39%, guys, can you imagine having a real 3-point shooter on our roster? You would like to think that it's Klay Thompson because he is a splash brother, right? And I'm not going to disrespect, but right now it just doesn't seem like his fit on the team necessarily makes sense. He thrives whenever he has a dominant ball handler that can set him up and get him good looks. Like, he played with Steph for most of his career. Okay. He was brought to Dallas to play alongside Luka Doncic. And whenever Luka was traded and hurt, he worked with Kyrie. Right now, we don't have any of those types of players on our roster. LaMelo Ball is very much that type of guy. But in the package that I presented yesterday, we're still getting rid of Klay Thompson. And I think after seeing just 1 game sample size of Max Christie in the starting lineup, I think we're okay with it. I think we're totally okay with it. He's shooting the ball well. He's playing fantastic on defense. So I'm even better with trading Klay Thompson than I was this time last week. And we've seen some positive minutes from guys like Caleb Martin. Hello. Now nothing, soul crushing that he's done, but it's been positive whenever he's been on the court. So if we trade Klay Thompson, that provides more room for people like Caleb Martin to play a little bit more. I mean, do with that information what you will. I don't think if we add Caleb Martin to a trade package that makes it any more attractive to anyone, especially, a team like Charlotte. But there's still an argument to be made for Daniel Gafford being a really great fit for their roster. They, at the moment, don't have a starting level center unless Ryan Kalkbrenner just magically improves, very, very quickly. They don't have that kind of guy to start at the 5. Then, Najee Marshall basically being able to guard most of the, elite wing players in the NBA. That's a skill set really any team could use. And then Klay Thompson with the right point guard, with the right setup, can still provide high-level shooting. It's just not happening on this roster. I don't pretend, again, to think that Charlotte just blindly is like, yeah, I love it. Let's do it. There's going to have to be some push and pull on negotiations, and maybe they even shut it down as soon as the phone rings because he's having an incredible season. But what puts a little seed of hope in my mind is that in the offseason, the Charlotte Hornets front office was quoted to say that they're looking for Melo to be more of a leader this season. They know what he brings as far as the basketball product is concerned. But if you're not viewed as a leader or as the guy that can actually take your franchise all the way and win a championship, then maybe you need to take what value you can for a player like that. And that's exactly the situation I think the Hornets find themselves in. They're going to be good. They're going to be competitive, as is. They're a weird roster. I don't fully understand, but they are not going to win a championship anytime soon. And, having Daniel Gafford, Klay Thompson, and Najee Marshall aren't going to make them a championship contender either. But listen, I just think that they have to start thinking about what the next 3 to 4 years are going to look like. And the Mavericks definitely need to start thinking about that because we need to be building a roster around Cooper Flagg. And as I said the other day, I don't necessarily think that Cooper is going to be a number 1 scoring option at any point in his career. I may be dead wrong about that, and I will happily step back from that comment whenever he proves me wrong. But being that what it is, Melo will be a number 1 scoring option. He will share the rock. He is serviceable on defense, and he solves a lot of our issues, and we can send those 3 guys to Charlotte to match salary, and we can throw in a first-round pick to make the deal a little bit sweeter. I'll try and get a little bit more creative as to other guards that we can start looking at, but this is my favorite so far, okay? But yeah, let's wrap this up. I'm realizing that episodes are getting a little bit longer every day. Sorry, but in review, the updates, what Mavs fans are fired up about right now is that we were right in the offseason and heading into this season when we were like, Max Christie should be starting. Okay. He looked great, a +10 in the plus-minus category. And as a bonus, we were right about AD starting at the 5. He was also a +3. When we have those 2 things going for us against the best team in the NBA, I think that's a win, even though it shows as a loss in the win column. The rumor is that Cooper Flagg has hurt his shoulder. Maybe that's what impacted his shooting on Monday night. Maybe, however, I think it was related more to the emphatic rejection he got from Chet Holmgren when he tried to end his life, okay? So we'll keep an eye on it, see if he's available for Wednesday night. We'll find out very soon on that, in fact. And then lastly, we dove into a little bit deeper as to why LaMelo Ball would be such a good fit for our offense, especially. But in general, trying to justify this and make it make sense for Charlotte may be a fool's errand. Let me know what you think in the comments section. And before we go, please make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the bell on your screen so you can be notified whenever the next episode drops. I try and do the recording first thing in the morning while I'm fresh and, still have, last night's highlights at the top of my mind. This morning, my kids got up super early and they were making a lot of noise. So I was like, you know what? Let me get through my 9 to 5 and I'll record when I get home. So this is what you're getting. And again, this is a more lengthy podcast. Thanks for sticking around, guys. That's all I got for you today. Party on. Y'all be good.